Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Got another great Neville nugget and a Goddard goodie to boot. That's right. From The Potter, which is a great chapter in The Law and the Promise. Neville talks about how we can transition things and the whole process behind it. And it's one of the beautiful parts about manifesting. Many of us are here right now because something in our current reality is not how we'd like it. Maybe we want more of something, certainly. Maybe we want less of something, certainly. Maybe there's a specific person, a job, money, whatever. But whatever the case is, you're obviously watching this video because there's something about your current reality that you'd like to change, and you've heard or you know that law of attraction is a concept that without a doubt works towards it. Goddard really breaks down the details of it and why it works so well, and he's got a really great little technique in here that I think helps make a big difference, and it has to do with memory and where we keep memories and how we create memories and what happens when we imagine. Oh, there's some good stuff up in this, so let's check it out. Let's see what Goddard's got to say. The word translated potter means imagination, out of material others would have thrown away as useless. An awakened imagination refreshes it as it ought to be. O Lord, thou art our Father, we are the clay, and thou art our potter. We are all the work of thy hand. Now, one of the great parts about this whole thing is, from some teachings, certainly, not everybody across the world shares these, but I don't know if they're similar in other religions, but certainly the concept that we are made in his image and likeness. And that's one of the things that we're really talking about here in this chapter, is how this is the potter, and, thou art the potter. And in the very next paragraph, he kind of clarifies that statement a little bit more, which is pretty powerful. This conception of creation as a work of imagination, and the Lord our Father as our imagination, will take us further into the mystery of creation than any other guide. The only reason people do not believe in this identity of God and human imagination is that they are unwilling to assume the responsibility for their frightful misuse of imagination. Divine imagination has descended to the level of human imagination, that human imagination may ascend to divine imagination. One of the great powerful parts about this is, one, like I said, it really does kind of walk that path that we are in the image and likeness. And so divine imagination has descended down to our level, and that's how we create. And then what we try to do with it from our human level is we try to imagine as divinely as possible. We try to imagine the good things, the better things, the improved things, the thing that we're trying to create in our life versus maybe more of the contrast, which so many of us have a hard time doing. One of the also other beautiful parts about his is when he talks about we are unwilling to assume the responsibility for their frightful misuse of imagination. Where so many of us go wrong is we have situations in our current reality, and we're trying to change them, but we keep noticing that our current reality has not changed, has not become something that it's not. One of the really neat things is anything that has not been created yet had to start in thought. An example, you look at a river, right? You got a river, and maybe you got a road on one side, maybe you got a road on the other, no bridge. But you got a river, and you could put a bridge in here. It's a good place to put one. So you start thinking about it. You start imagining, well, it'd be a bridge. Put some trestles there. Could support, do an arch bridge maybe. I don't know, make it out of iron, whatever's cheap in the area, right? You could come up with an entire plan, get budgeting for it, draw blueprints, start a construction crew. But ultimately, it started with a thought. It started with a person standing on one side of the road going, wow, wouldn't it be great if I could get across this river right here and go to that road over there? That would save me hours because the other place way down there is too far, and I don't want to keep doing that. The contrast, right? The contrast is the fact that right now, the only way I can get across this area is to drive way down the road, cross the bridge there, come way back. When if there was a bridge right here, it'd save me an hour. So instead of focusing on, well, I don't have a bridge, screw it, forget it. We look at it and we're like, all right, well, let's build a bridge. Let's do this. Let's make this new reality. Let me think about it. All right, there's a bridge. The same goes with the relationship, with the new job, with the new money. Yeah, you don't have it yet. So that's what you're changing. That's what you're using these techniques to do. Where that bridge isn't right now, it will become so. Where that wall doesn't exist right now, it will become so. Where that relationship doesn't exist right now, it will. Where that forgiveness doesn't exist right now, it will. Now, the misuse of our imagination is when we keep focusing on the fact that forgiveness hasn't happened. That bridge isn't there. There is no wall there right now. Whatever. I don't have the money. I don't have the car. I don't have the relationship. We keep focusing on that. That is the misuse of imagination. The proper use of imagination, the reason it's been given to us, the way we try to make it a more divine choice, is we try to imagine we'd like the world to be. The power of change rests within us. It starts inside of us as a changed thought. That changed thought creates a feeling, and that feeling gets pushed out into reality. So you have a thought, you have a feeling about that thought, that feeling projects out into humanity, us pushed out, the way manifestation actually occurs, whatever the case is, and you start to see evidence of this thing that you've been feeling emotion towards, that you've been focusing on. So if you're misusing that, and you keep thinking about this third party, maybe for example, and it gets you angry and furious, that emotion, that feeling, creates more of it. Your higher self's like, all right, I know you don't want this, but you keep thinking about it and feeling very strongly about it, so all right, there's more. When instead, if we focused and imagined what it's like for this person to forgive us, how that would feel, how we would feel, how much better. Oh man, I'm just so glad that we were finally able to get past that. I've learned my lesson, never going to do that again, right? And you sort of walk through that revision, if you will, in your mind. And you imagine that change. You imagine that reality over and over until it begins to form. Now, this is where we get into some very cool parts. Imagination creates, conserves, and transforms. Imagination is radically creative when all imaginative activity based on memory disappears. Imagination is, well, let's stop real quick. Memory. When you take away memory, our imaginations are amazing. And what he's talking about here is so many of us have had that experience at one point in the past. Maybe someone hurt us at one point. Maybe every time we go through this intersection, it's always red. Maybe, right? Whatever your memory is of how things always are, when you imagine, it's really hard for us sometimes consciously to shift towards what we'd like it to be because we tend to fall back on the memory. So that person that we're trying to attract, they always ignore me. So when I start imagining them talking to me, my subconscious kicks in and goes, yeah, but you don't believe this. And you're like, yeah, you're right, I don't actually believe this. And it creates a problem. We have to get away from the memory. We have to start to create new memories. I'll explain why, a little bit more Goddard to fill in some of these blanks for us. Imagination is conservative when its imaginal activity is fed with images supplied mainly by memory. Imagination is transformative when it varies a theme already in being, when it mentally alters a fact of life, when it leaves the fact out of the remembered experience, or puts something in its place if it upsets the harmony it desires. What this means is, if you keep imagining things based off of memory, based off of how it's always been, you're going to keep getting more and more of that. Because you're going to let your memories shape your imagination. What you believe is possible is now based off of past experiences. But we just acknowledged at the beginning of this that your right now is what you're trying to change. Your past, because it was just a second ago, it was right now, right? But not anymore, it's in the past. Your past is what we're trying to change. And the only way to do that is to come up with new imaginal scenes, to come up with a new way of doing it. Otherwise, you're going to keep doing it the same way. Very powerful when you start to think about it. Now, one of the other very powerful and cool parts about memory is stored in the same exact location of the brain where imagination occurs. Meaning, when you go on a trip and you're whitewater rafting and you're like, woo, you're all going crazy, right? And you're floating around, that stores in a particular place in the brain. It stores a little snapshot, right? Throws it right there in your brain. When I sit there and imagine whitewater rafting, right? Imagining it. I'm not a very good actor, I know, but whatever. I play one on TV, right? When I imagine it, It's actually using the same part of the brain, the same place that went, right? It's now, like, it's all doing its thing. I don't know, sound effects, cheap. I'll work on it. But you're creating new thoughts in that same place. And as you have the same image over and over, as you keep thinking the same thing over and over and over, you embed it in there like a memory. So now your brain really doesn't know the difference between the old memory and the new memory. In fact, now it's two memories. Well, shucks. With two memories, one of them being different and cool and fun and something I'd enjoy experiencing, and one of the memories being sucky and something I don't want to do anymore, let's entertain the new one. Now you've got a new memory. Now your imaginative process is transformative because now you're varying a theme that already is in being. Meaning, right now they don't trust you, but I'm imagining a situation where they do trust me. I'm imagining a situation where we are hanging out. I'm imagining a place where I am making more money. I'm imagining a place where I can have whatever I need, desire, want, whatever. So as he says here, when you're mentally altering a fact of life, when it leaves a fact out of a remembered experience. Well, at one time they got mad and they said, F you, and they walked away. And then now I'm like playing it back and I'm like, all right, so they walked away because I made them mad. All right, I've already removed the F you part, right? Because that's not cool. It's not suitable for all audiences. So now I'm thinking about it and I'm like, ooh, what did I say that torqued him, that got him angry, that got him going? Oh, yeah, this is the thing I said. All right, I'm going to play it back. I'm going to play it back. Now I didn't just say your mother's a vampire and dresses you funny. I said, your mom's a very interesting lady, and I like how she wears black capes everywhere she goes and dark lipstick. Bam! Now all of a sudden we've altered it a little. Maybe still not the best way to go, but heading in a much better direction because now in my imagination, I'm like, you know what? That is not nearly as bad as what happened. So now I'm actually transforming this situation. I'm transforming it into something that is better. It is fantastic when we really start to take the ownership of what is happening to us. And one of the things is, too, for a lot of us that are trying to manifest relationships where there's been a breakup, for an example, a lot of the times the history of the relationship, I want to get it to how it used to be, is the memory that can get us in trouble. How it used to be was created by how it was prior to that. How it should be in the future should be based off of everything you've learned up until this point. So you should be imagining a difference. It shouldn't be the same as it was 10 years ago. You shouldn't really want it to be the same. Now, maybe you were in a loving relationship and everything was good. Cool. That's something that can carry over into the new relationship. Maybe the love you guys had was amazing. You just look into each other's eyes and you just knew that there was love. Sure, that's fantastic. I do know a lot of times people want to get the honeymoon phase back, and you could maybe try to manifest that. I'm not trying to say you can't, but for the most part, relationships progress and transform themselves. And as you get to know someone better, it's not really a honeymoon anymore. But you can go to new levels and take it to new areas and really understand and love and take passion to new areas and get into all sorts of crazies, right? The sky's the limit. So again, trying to reproduce the past is not necessarily what we want to do. What we want to do is create a new tomorrow. And we don't want to get stuck on old memories and old thoughts as what's going to shape our future. So again, so many of us focus on how it is right now, but that's what you're changing. So let's talk about, let's imagine, let's speak out loud. What is it that you would like to experience? And this is what I ask everybody whenever I do coaching sessions. Like, well, what would you like to experience? And then I listen to them talk. And then I get them to talk about what's going on right now. And you start to catch all the little places where their little beliefs pop up. Little things start to happen. Little places where, yeah, that's not what you said you wanted to experience. Yet you keep saying that. You've said that 5 times now. Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah. You keep saying one thing, but then you're doing another. So we've got to sometimes pay attention to how those play out. Now, here's a great example, and I'm going to try to blow through this real quick. So there's a lady, and she used this, she was an artist, and she actually turned her dream into reality by using this the Potter experience. So ever since I entered into the art field, I've enjoyed doing sketches and paintings for children's rooms. However, I've been discouraged by advisors and friends who are far more experienced in this field than I am. They liked my work, admired my talent, but said I would not get recognition nor pay for this type of work. Somehow, I always felt I would. But how? Then last fall, I heard your lectures and read your books and decided to let my imagination create the reality I desired. That is what I did daily. I imagined I was in a gallery. There was a great deal of excitement about me, and on the walls hung my art, only mine, a one-woman show. And I saw red stars on many of the pictures. This would indicate that they had been sold. This is what happened. Just before Christmas, I did a mobile, for a friend who showed it in turn to a friend of hers who owns an art import shop in Pasadena. He expressed a desire to meet me, so I took a few samples of my work along. When he looked at the very first painting, he said he would like to give me a one-woman show in the spring. The night of an opening, April 17th, an interior decorator came and liked and commissioned me to do a collage for a little boy's room, which will appear in the September issue of Good Housekeeping for the 1961 House of the Year. Later during the show, another decorator came and admired my work so much, he asked if he might arrange me to meet the right interior director and that the right owners of the galaxy would come and buy and display my work properly. Incidentally, the show was a financial success for the owner of the gallery as well as for me. The interesting thing about this is that seemingly these three men came to me out of the blue. Certainly, I made no effort during the time of my imagining to contact anyone, but now I am getting recognition and have a market for my work. And now I know without a shadow of a doubt that there is no when you seriously apply this principle that imagining creates reality. It truly does. It's a very powerful process. And when we own it, when we realize that most of the time, most of the questions I get is people that are like, why don't I have this? Or I've been doing the work and this has been happening and I've been meditating every day and I do this and I self-love, but how come nothing's ever happening? I keep noticing it's never happening. And that's the problem, is we forget that just because it hasn't happened right now doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. Doesn't mean we're failing with the technique we're doing. Remember, here's the way to assess the techniques that you're currently doing. Does it bring about a feeling? This feeling of what it's like to be in this end environment. New job, new money, new person, old person, right? What does it feel like living in the end? What does it feel like when you're in that end result? Does this technique you're doing get you to feel what it's like to have this thing that you want? If it is, then it's working. Remember, it's the feeling that does the creation. It's the thoughts that lead to the feelings. How many times have we looked at what's not working and then we get bummed about it? That feeling is what gets pushed out of the environment. That feeling is what becomes tomorrow. So notice, sure, what's going on, but keep doing the imaginal work. Get yourself feeling good. Do it nightly, daily. Do it at a place. A lot of these people, the consistent thing in many of these stories is every night before I went to bed. And it's really a good way to do it because, one, good to go to bed grateful. Look at what's worked through the day, certainly. Think about what you'd like tomorrow to have and hold for you. And look forward to it, because that is one of the big differences for many people when they realize how much control they have over the lives they lead, because what they think, feel, and do, right? All these things create their outcomes, that when they go to bed at night, they look forward to the next day, because it's like, what miracles, what magic do you have in store for me tomorrow? I can't wait to see it. And here are some of the things I'd like to experience. I'm going to imagine, and I'm happy, and I'm feeling it, and I'm in the end, and I'm like, oh, this is just great. Isn't it great that this is all happening? It's all changing. It's all happening right now. Don't get hung up on how it is right this second. Don't get stuck in old memories and let those shape your tomorrow. Do something different. Make it a different memory. Make it a different thought. Make it a different approach. Imagine it differently. Revise it to a place where your mind's like, yeah, I like that. That'll work. And that is when you will walk right up to your manifestation and go, hello, I'm Dan. Nice to meet you. Dan RadioStyle.